Every Scientologist is required to recruit new members. Find their ruin was Hubbard's advice. In other words, detect a personal problem that might be alleviated by a course of auditing. But sometimes recruitment is more indirect. Everywhere, Scientology reaches the public through its front organizations, some of them misleadingly named. Some are pressure groups campaigning on issues like mental health, which seems to obsess Scientologists. Others are controversial campaigns aimed at school children. And Scientology has others to help the unfortunate, like ex-offenders, and particularly drug users.
Narconon is a drug rehabilitation center. It's a front group for Scientology. It's designed to help people get off drugs, which it does successfully, but then it converts people from that into Scientology. They're taken off drugs. They're put onto a program to help them do better in life. The program is basically Scientology processing or training, and from there they are indoctrinated, and from there they're converted to a Scientologist.
And how many of those former drug addicts become Scientologists?
Anywhere from 50 to 75%.
Can you recall an incident which occurred when your mother looked younger?
Yeah, when she...
One of the main grievances of the plaintiffs in the class action relates to auditing. The most intimate confessions are sometimes divulged in these sessions, and the auditor notes them down. This information is then kept in processing files known as pre-clear or PC folders, which are carefully stored. The use that has been made of the contents of these folders is now a matter of contention. Hubbard wrote in What is Scientology, "The auditor treats all session reports as confidential." Item 22 of the Auditor's Code reads, "I promise never to use the secrets of a pre-clear divulged in session for punishment or personal gain." What is the policy of the Church on the use of information imparted during auditing sessions?
It is to be kept completely confidential and sequestered.
Completely confidential?
Yes.
Is that policy rigorously observed?
Yes, it is.
Has it been?
Yes. Has it been rigorously observed? Absolutely.
But in the recent past, it was policy to cull people's files for damaging information. Hubbard's wife, Mary Sue, who was later imprisoned, wrote a Guardian order in 1969 to make full use of all files on the organization to affect your major target. These include processing files. You were in the intelligence division of the Guardian's office of the Church of Scientology. Did you have access to people's personal confidential files?
Oh, certainly, certainly.
And was use ever made of that information?
Every mission that I ever went on, I used it.
What did you do?
Well, when we'd first come into an organization, we would have the pretty clear folders of people that were involved in the organization that had maybe given the organization some trouble, pulled and culled for things that they may have done and were hiding. And that information would be brought to their attention in order to kind of bring them back into the fold, so to speak.
Did you use confidential information that the Church held about people?
Yes. For example, that was used to get the extortion running with, a lot of times.
Are you categorically denying that private information culled from PC folders has ever been disseminated to intimidate or blackmail ex-members of the Church of Scientology?
Absolutely, because that can be verified in every court of law in the world, and it's just as simple as that. So there will be allegations that people want $1 billion. I understand that they want $1 billion, but they'll have to come up with some kind of documentation. There is none. There is none. Nada, as they say in Spanish, niente, as they say in Italian. There's nothing.
But one of the class action plaintiffs has some widely circulated internal church documents that, she says, were seized by the FBI and authenticated in court.
Here you have a file on a woman. The following data was gotten from this woman's folders. She had several self-induced abortions. She saw a psychiatrist for alcoholism problems. She has a drug history of Librium, Valium, Milltown's alcohol, LSD, opium, heroin, and many other things. That her son went to jail. And in another case here, a woman, it says here, her folders start in 1963. She masturbated regularly since she was 8 years old. She mentioned doing it once with coffee grounds and once had a puppy licker. When she lived in Greenwich Village, she claimed she screwed anything with pants.
Now, this information was supplied in confidence in auditing sessions.
You can believe it.
The Church would say that It has wound up the Guardian's office. It has changed a lot of the practices that went on in previous years. It has now cleaned up its act. Is the Church of Scientology today a different organization from the one you left?
It's worse. I know this because people come to me continuously and bring me the stories of the horrors that they're going through in present time up to even a few weeks ago. The Church has a history of every time they're called to account, they say, oh, that was in the past. We've dismissed those people. We don't do that anymore. It can be called a catechism of the Church. We don't do that anymore. They do it, and more, as they'll do it as much as they can get away with.
In California, Ludus Burse is another former Scientologist whose troubles began when he left the church last year.
Several months after I got out, they started sending people around to get me to sign a confession. 2 and 3 of them at a time. One of them was this big guy, about 6'6", and I don't know, it just freaked me out.
After you refused to sign the confession, what was the next stage?
I got a phone call from a private investigator who worked for John Peterson, a Scientology attorney, and he said if I didn't come and meet with him to sign this confession, that he would go to the immigration authorities and get me kicked out of the country over some discrepancies, as he called them, in my immigration status.
So they have some fairly private information about your past.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Where do you think they got it from?
Yeah. Well, this was some private investigator, just some voice on the phone. He got it from my confessional folders, which I had told to my Scientology so-called minister about 15 years before that. That's the only person I ever told about that.
This 1972 directive that the FBI seized is a frank statement of one of Hubbard's aims. Item A, make money. Down the list, item J also reads, make money. Item K, make more money. And item L, make other people produce so as to make money.